I am so sorry about that, everyone. My computer fucking crashed. Or crashed, froze. Shit didn't work there for a minute.
Same difference.
It's
not
okay.
your fault. Computer just go. Yeah.
Yeah, the computer had a major hiccup, and for where I last heard, Dravenche was picked to go first because of the way you said you had the setup, and then you were getting ready to get into Dravenche's thing when all of a sudden I heard,
Died.
yeah, it stopped. Everything froze.
All right. So we will go back to that point then.
Once again, I am so sorry, guys. I have no control over when this computer decides to do shit like that.
And thus you have no reason to be sorry.
He's
You're
right.
sorry. You're sorry when it's in your control.
Well, it happened
Anyway,
on
so
my
what-
watch, so I can at least be a tiny bit upset about it.
That's right. Alrighty then. So back to what we were doing. Dravenche.
Mm-hmm.
Self now?
Yeah, everyone mute themselves. I hate to do that literally right as we get back into the stream, but it's kind of the point of this situation. So, Dravenche. Again, you find yourself in this basically featureless, aside from the multitude of colors around you, hallway.
And the door is sealed off behind me.
It's not even that it's sealed off, it's as if there never was a door.
And in front of me is just more hallway.
Yes. Just extending further to the point that your eyes stop even recognizing it as a way to progress forward. It just becomes a point of darkness even in this very illuminated hallway.
Just looking around. Morgan, where did you... She's gone. Did this happen with the others? Well, no going back. And if the only way is forward, then just gotta progress forward.
Alright. You begin making your way down the hallway. Much as it appears, it just seems to stretch forever onward. You're walking for at least 10 minutes before you even really realize that you've made any progress. The shifting of the light in the hallways around you, it really makes it hard to judge distance, as they will change and bend to make it look like the hallways, though they're constantly different. There's never a feeling of progression. It almost feels as if you're being pulled backwards with every step, with how everything shifts and moves around you. But you do look back, and you've definitely walked a good while.
Just keep on going, keep on going. Something
Make a perception
will happen,
check
or else
for
you
me.
get out. Perception?
Yep.
Do. Perception. Nat 20!
Something feels off. You glance to your side as you're walking because you could have sworn for a second you saw motion. But then you just find yourself face to face with something that is very different from all the other features in this hallway. Previously, what you've been walking through has almost been I've been calling it a hallway, but it's more akin to a tunnel. A circular bored hole going straight into this mountain, from what you perceive it to be. But just randomly set into the side of the wall is a perfectly flat glass surface. And you see yourself reflected in it. But it's not you as you are now.
What? He'll just slowly walk towards it, hesitantly, as he peers deeper into the mirror.
As you peer deeper into the mirror, your perspective changes. And suddenly, you just hear gentle music around you as you are standing on the streets of Tezvarel. The city is currently a bustle with activity, people rushing about, moving materials back and forth. You do notice very specifically there is a lot of stone carvers moving things around at the moment. People moving materials to make statues, people moving various bits of metal and such around. A lot of guards moving around. You're used to that in Tezvarel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something about
it wasn't time for the festival yet. There was still a bit more time out. Wait, it was the metalworking. This is the wrong time of year for a stone. This doesn't seem...
Drvinche, my boy.
Huh?
You hear your father's voice behind you.
Dad? He'll just spin around to the voice.
You see your father, though you're used to looking at eye level with him, but right now you're currently set just slightly below his chin. There's something wrong.
Can Da Vinci make kind of an insight/perception check to kind of get a feel of what might be going on around him?
Make an insight check.
Oh, that's not at advantage.
It's inciting yourself, it's fine. So you distinctly remember this moment. This was the first time you got from the crafting festivals. And you now see yourself. It's very bizarre as you sort of stretch backwards from your own body, seemingly a specter in this scene as you watch yourself move forward to greet your father. You see him just give you a few words of encouragement, tell you that everything is going to be alright, that it's okay to be nervous your first time doing the festivals. But he has faith in you. And
so
memories
Da
of
Vinci
this
is now a specter.
Yeah. You get the sense that you could reassume, but that moment of introspection forced you out of your body. That sort of attempt to not follow the flow forced you back out.
This was years ago. This was when that... Oh no. No. Do I really have to relive through this?
You're currently watching yourself as you're being led away by your father.
Mm.
And something is burning in the back of your head. You can feel eyes on you in your spectral form. Not looking at you per se as you are now, but you in retrospect.
Da Vinci is going to look in the direction of the burning.
You see a very familiar high elven woman.
His fist starts to clutch around the chain that he's been just idly playing with.
And you just watch as her features, as she looks at you, just slowly twist into a grin. You see her pass a small pouch of coin to another guild artisan.
What? What's the meaning of that? And he looks back to his young self, and back to her, back to his young self, and back to her.
Yeah.
I
As
already
you're...
live.
No. Sorry.
No, continue, please.
As you're having that moment of seemingly trying to judge which direction you want to follow, you notice as your young self moves away, there's this sort of fading whiteness that just starts to take over the way around you. You do remember in this moment, you felt someone looking at you, but you decided to ignore it at the time.
Da Vinci is going to slowly back away from the woman towards his younger self. Do things clear up?
Yes, as you move closer to yourself, you move away from that fading white. It seems you're limited by your memory.
I too have to relive through this. Well, at least I get to see one of my best works once again. At least can take some solace in that. As he will follow his younger self, but keeping more of an eye around the surroundings.
Alright then. So make for me another perception check. You are technically being aided by something, so you can make this at advantage.
Woo! 17.
As you're progressing forward, you just continue to hear the conversation you and your father were having. Him explaining to you the general rules. You've already known them, of course. You were at least a little eager for this festival. So you found out about how this all worked fairly early on. The only thing you're really waiting for is to hear the prompt you were supposed to conduct. But yes, he just explains to you that you'll have 1 week's time to complete this project, and at the end of that week you will be judged. And he has the utmost faith that you will be able to join him in his guild at the end of that week. It's definitely a very heavy, nostalgic feeling to hear your father have that faith in you.
God. I really wish I could have.
But
Yeah.
that nostalgia fades slightly. as your current perspective, different from what you had at the time, so focused on your father's words and your own excitement, you did not pick up on. You start to hear whispers. Various artisans moving about the town. All of them that you remember are the judges that will be presiding over this event. You hear them start whispering, "Madam Karma," he said. "What interest does she have? But we can't go against her." Just many voices, almost in chorus to your current perspective, whispering all that name, Madam Karma.
What? Why? Why was she here? Why? Did that harpy have something to do with this? We got the heads of the guilds there. Why are they saying her name? Why do I have to hear that name again?
The white starts to fade in around you as you pause, trapped by memory.
No. I gotta keep going through this. Gotta keep going through this.
You catch up with yourself again, this time moving out of the city streets into the alleyways that you know lead closer towards your family home. Your father is a fairly respected artisan of his own right, but he is not of noble generation, and he is not of craftsmen. He is first generation, built upon his own right.
Yeah, and given the size of his family, they needed a larger place. Thus, thus poorer areas would have a space for that.
Yeah. And it's not the most poor. You've seen the true slums. You've had to venture through them on occasion. You just have to venture through them on occasion to be able to reach the ports that leave Tesverel. Occasionally your father would take you to receive materials from the ports. And he said this in his words at one point, you remember, to give you perspective of what he hopes to have you avoid. Because you know that he grew up in the slum. He still hasn't escaped it, but he's moved up and he hopes that you can continue to climb the ladder towards the echelon.
Well, I was able to do that. Just not in the way you wanted it. And, oh no, I'm gonna have to see my brothers, sisters.
It's as you say that the door to your family home opens, and you do see many of your brothers and sisters, younger and, if I remember correctly, some older. You're not the firstborn.
He's middle child.
Yeah. Yeah, so your brothers and sisters, younger and older, all of them busy about. Even the youngest, not quite able to pick up the craft themselves yet, still working to at least move materials and give them to the older children to keep working.
Just seeing all of them again, especially since a few of them had been lost by the time he is the age he is now.
Yeah. It especially hits hard when you see your sister, the one that was lost to the Kingfisher.
I remember this. They were all here, wishing me luck. Giving me some form of lucky charm or another. They're all here. I was hoping to see all of you again, but not like this. Not like this.
You watch as your younger self is accepting those small charms. Trinkets, really. Some of your older siblings even provide you some of their own works, giving you congratulations that your father decided to choose you at the crafts for longer. Some of them even still longer, but not long enough that they don't qualify anymore.
You already had your chance at this point. You at least got through.
Not all of them did. But you do certainly remember that your eldest brother, a widely renowned craftsman, doesn't only work in jewelry either. Not exactly to your father's dismay, but he's appreciative of the fact that he's done so well for himself. Your eldest sister no longer works in jewelry at all. She decided to become a clothier, but she is widely respected in her own right, even though she no longer follows one of the core crafting guilds that is found around Tesvero. Those two seem to be the ones that are, at this current moment, giving you the most sort of advice about how to go forward and do this, because you know both of them actually won the competition. It is in fact this... Yes. You're starting to get that weird sensation again, though, as you're watching this all transpire. That sort of burning sensation.
The sensation, as he was watching this, he felt he was nearing the edge of crying. Emotions overwhelming. Of loss and familial connection and nostalgia. The burning sensation, though, snaps him out of it just for a moment. And he looks in the direction of it.
You watch as you look in the direction and see your father excuse himself, step away from the group. A couple of your younger siblings sort of give him a little pouty awe face, but the younger you is just so focused on heeding the advice of your elder siblings. But with your current perspective, you watch as he steps away, heading back towards the front door.
Da Vinci will follow his father.
Then you watch as he stops before opening it. Reaches back and draws a curtain across the opening of the door. Your spectral form can penetrate it, but what lies on the other side is silhouettes. You cannot properly remember this event, but your perspective is different. You watch as he opens the door, and you can't see her face, but you know it's her. You just feel the burning sensation from her.
Why did she constantly chase after us?
You can't.
Da Vinci is going to try to listen in if he can.
Alright. Make another perception check.
Was that with advantage or no?
Unless I say no, assume that you have advantage.
Okay, so 18.
Alright. You listen in, and unfortunately, there are just pieces of the memory that you can't recall, even with whatever is currently aiding you to listen. But you do distinctly remember, back when you initially were in this experience, your father did raise his voice at one point. At the time, you didn't hear the words. But now that you're next to the scene, you can watch as he just dismisses this woman. She made some form of gesture towards him, and then you watch the silhouettes of her fingers point inside the household past the curtain. And he just immediately dismisses her. You don't remember what the words were at the time, but you hear them now just, "I'm not going to hand him over to you, you vile bitch." And even in the silhouette, you can just see that twisted smile.
What? That's what he said? What was that hag up to? What does she want? Other than her blood money.
The scene around you starts to fade to white. The memory, it's... Sorry. What are you going to say?
I'm guessing that his younger self's was being ushered away.
No, you just remember at this point that the rest of the day went on as normal. It seems the memory becomes insignificant at this point, and thus is fading.
Before the memory fades away completely, he's going to have one more long look at all his siblings and his mother. As then the memory fades away.
The last thing you see in this memory, from your current perspective, that you didn't see at the time, is your mother giving a very concerned glance and pulls the curtain back. The door he then proceeds to slam shut behind him, but you can just see as it does. You can just see the woman fading into the distance of the alley, and your mother just covers her mouth. They exchange a look. A deep concern. And then the memory fades out, and you're standing in the hallway again. No longer in front of the flat, smeared surface.
Drinche, just now standing in the hallway, collapses to his knee, finally letting go of the chain that has now pressed a heavy red indent into his hand from how much he was clutching it. What? Of all the memories, why did it have to be this one?
Perspective.
What? He just snaps to that voice.
You find no source. It just seemingly appeared around you.
Drinche tucks the chain away and stumbles himself back up staggeringly. Who said that?
Perspective.
Perspective? What perspective?
Debt.
For me to... Sorry.
Debt.
Debt? What part of me remembering when my entire future was torn, was destroyed in front of me? What part of that relates to debt? Other than that bitch. Why won't you answer? Tear is starting to fall from his eye. And it's at this point Da Vinci looks around. Is there a way forward?
There's always a way forward, but there's no longer a way back. You appear to be at the beginning of the hallway once more.
You're really gonna make me go through all of this, aren't you? I can only go forward, though. Da Vinci is going to continue on forward.
You do. At this point, you just sort of stop paying attention to time. It's a strange thing to do with someone who is always so ever present, ever aware of how much time you currently have. The ever-present ticking, it almost seems to fade away as you continue to walk forward. You feel, in case you are concerned, you feel your pocket and the watch is still there. But the metronome-like beat that you're so used to doesn't seem to be reaching you at the moment.
It's almost like his senses have become numb to everything else.
It certainly feels that way.
What? Why did I go into this place?
Perspective.
Just keep going forward. Just keep going forward.
Forward.
You continue. Sorry.
What? What kind of perspective am I supposed to glean from this?
Life. Loss. Regrets. Glory. Blood. Perspective.
Just keep going forward, Da Vinci. Just keep going forward. We'll get through this.
You continue forward, and you actually reach the other end of the hallway. And again, you just see another flat surface.
What can you torment me with this time?
Nothing. Torment. Yours. Memory.
He's going to just grimace and then look into the mirror.
You look into the mirror and see yourself reflected as you previously did. Much younger.
Back when he would wear a proper shirt.
Yes, back when you wore a shirt that covered your nipples. Sometimes, at least. You occasionally still wore an open tunic for the sake of it. It was hot some days, you had to.
Yeah.
The perspective you pick back up in now is actually you in the workshop that had been set up by your father to allow you to work undeterred by anyone around you. And you do remember that there is a guild artisan standing, sort of watching over you, not interrupting you. He doesn't even really do anything other than ensure that anyone who enters this room is only to bring you refreshments or something of the like. They never offer you advice. You know this is one of the mediaries to ensure that there is no contamination of your craft.
I remember this. My father had to pull some strings with his guild buddies to get me all the tools for this place.
Yeah. You even remember that distinctly while pulling those strings he had to be careful because to pull them considered contamination. And very specifically, it had to be someone completely unrelated to your father to watch over you.
Mm-hmm.
Still a member of the Craftsmen's Artisan Guild, but not one that your father is associated with.
Yeah, it was just mainly to get him a bit better tools than what he normally had access to.
Of course. So, what was the prompt whenever Dravinche initially took his test?
What was the prompt?
Yes.
Flight.
Flight. A very interesting prompt you were given. You were shown at the time, and it was a bit abstract, that there were birds in cages, that the actual prompt was given by all of these cages being open simultaneously, and the people in the crowd simply watching as these small dove birds just fled into the air to scan across the city. Obviously, you knew they were trained, they were good, but it was that little bit of inspirational push to try to give you an idea of what to work towards. And at the time, you really hit it off with the idea. It really inspired you, and you... Honestly, there were points where the actual artisan watching over you had to tell you to stop because you were just so in a groove.
Dravinche, in this memory, would just sit down on a nearby chair or table, if he even could sit in this spectral form.
You can. You still exist in this space. You can still walk around. But anytime you would disturb something, it did not seem to affect the scene. Like, you could not change what happened, but you could witness it.
But he would sit down and just watch his younger self work. So full of hope. Such I remember this piece.
To give me an insight check. Again, with advantage.
22.
You're sort of just watching this scene. Nothing specifically bad seems to happen in this memory, and your memory of it is a fairly pleasant experience. You were just working to work and working to craft. That spark of desire to bring beauty into the world, it was all you cared about in this moment. And it's as you're watching, and you can tell this memory and jeers together at points where you can tell this is days passing. This days of this same perspective. And you can slowly see this masterpiece that you decided to construct and put together. You can see as it takes form.
Even
say your thing.
Even as a memory, I still feel proud when I see this. He just looks to his younger self as he's working away. Hold on to that pride when you can. This was one of your greatest works, after all.
And for your insight, at one point, you decide to look away from your work. It's beautiful, of course, but you remember it in better detail than this perspective can even attempt to give you, because you remember it in your mind, what you were creating. There's somehow seeing it in physical form almost can't do it justice. But all artisans know that the physical form of your art will never do justice to the vision you had. Your insight comes when you look back at the craftsman watching over you. And it's the fact that he's looking down at your piece, and you can see the same vision in him. He clearly understands your skill. Now, obviously, you are no master artisan, but you were in your stages of learning at this point. That was the whole purpose of this festival. And to create something of such beauty, it's inspiring to even a great crafter. And it's when he's hit with that same inspiration that he knows you're feeling, that you can see a deep-seated pit of regret start forming in his stomach. It's regret, and then resolve. The face of a man who knows what he's doing is wrong, but knows he can't go against it. And you can see a small pouch hanging at his side, with a very familiar K emblazoned on.
Just look at the man. Look. See that face. And he just feels confused as to why he would feel like that. And then seeing the pouch.
It's almost as if the regret you see on his face spreads upwards from it.
Slowly, his face contorts from a face of once a bit of content to confusion and anger as a rage starts to build up. No. She sunk her claws into him too. He stepped kept stopping me at times, breaking my focus. Did she buy him off? Why? Why?
You watch as he takes a breath and pushes that regretful expression down. Steps forward. And just gently places a hand on your shoulder. And you just remember the words very clearly. Well, it's about closing time for the day, son. Should probably head home and get some rest before the night of the festival. And at the moment, this confused you because you know that there were several people who spent entire nights, days and nights working on these projects. But for some reason, you decided not to question it. This is supposed to be a trusted member of the Artisans Guild. If he thought that you were ready, then you were confident in yourself.
Bullshit. The others got to work night and day. I was supposed to have as much time as I wanted in this shop. Why did I just let it be? Why did I just go instead of pushing to do it? To put those finishing details?
You watch as your younger self stands up, gives the man a respectful bow, and steps out of the room. And you can see that regret overtake his expression again as he looks down at the table. Kneesia, forgive me, I can't believe this happened.
Sorry, could you repeat that? You cut out there.
Without the voice, I'll just say it. Ignesia, forgive me, I can't believe I'm letting this happen.
Thank you.
He doesn't do anything to ruin your peace. And you distinctly remember it was not tampered with at all whenever you went to present it. That...
Sorry, you just roboted out for me.
My internet's not great. Alright, how do I sound now?
Better. You were saying that he remembers that it wasn't tampered with or anything.
Yeah.
At the festival.
Yeah, you distinctly remember that it was in the exact state you left it in. There was no tampering with it. So you know this regret in this man's face is not because he's going to do anything. He allowed this influence to happen.
I swear you should feel regret.
And the memory starts fading to white around you again.
Before letting the memory completely fade, he's going to look at the piece one more time. And then to have that nostalgic feeling once again, he's going to walk out. He's going to walk out to the shop, same direction his younger self went.
It's as you're walking out that something sinister catches your eye. You can just feel from a shape you didn't notice when you walked out originally. You can feel the smile.
Hmm. So that's as he stepped out?
Yes, it's as your spectral form steps out behind where your younger self did. Several moments later,
Mm-hmm.
you can still see your younger self heading out the front door.
So he steps out of the shop, trying to sate his anger by feeling the bit of nostalgia of seeing the outside of the guild once again. A view he hasn't seen in such a long time.
Yes.
Only
It's,
for continue.
I was going to say, it is a grand building, decorated in every aspect of the word richly. All of the guild's true guild halls of Tesvarel are decorated in this manner to truly showcase the skill of the people inside. There are hundreds of small cut jewels making mosaic patterns against the front entryway of this guild hall. And it's a bit odd to step out of it and seeing them all painted this sort of faded white color as the memory itself is disappearing around you. It makes you feel like a ghost in your own life.
But then as he feels that smile,
You had felt that when you stepped out of the guild workroom and you saw your younger self leaving the front hall of the guild.
Mm,
Sorry, I didn't make that clear. I'm sorry.
no worries. But as he looks back into the guild hall, to that smile, what? What did you do? What did a little kid do to you? Why would you ruin someone's future? Your claws are in here somewhere.
The memory fades. And you're standing back in the hallway. Though what was previously the flat glass surface is now a door. Perfectly cut from ornate chiseled glass.
She had dug her claws into the entire festival?
Debt. Desire. Perspective.
What debt? What desire? I know my father owed her money, but what did he do to cause this?
Future. Perspective. Memory. Yours. Torment. Yours. Desire. Hers. Debt. His.
What desire did she have? Was she really that sadistic to want to destroy a kid's entire future?
Perspective.
And you can hear the door click as a lock opens.
To turn. As much as I want to turn away.
There's nowhere to turn away to.
I need to keep going. Find out what that bitch did to me. As he slams his hand that had the chain pressed into it onto the door handle and throws the door open as he advances forward.
You see before you a perfectly circular chamber. It's actually more spherical, with a small platform and bridge of glass leading out into the center of it. And the sight of what sits in the center of this room, even in your rage, causes you to pause. Because on the pedestal in the center of the room is a perfectly ornate, small gemstone and platinum carved bird. Yep. Its wings outstretched, made of many segments of gemstone and metal to resemble the feathers that would be on it, ending in a short chain that would allow it to be worn around the neck. You just see it floating in the center of this room. Finished. The piece that mine. Exactly as you envisioned it. Exactly as your hands now could make it.
The moment he sees it, he pauses. The anger, the hatred, for an instant disappears entirely. And he starts stumbling in place, just barely catching himself. As he feels this conflict of confusion, hope, pride, anger, hatred, sadness. All these mixed emotions from his past welling forth at once from just seeing this masterpiece. And he slowly stumbles forward, extending his hand out, shaking towards this piece.
You take the first step onto the sort of floating, almost pane-like shards of glass that act as a bridge to reach the center of this spherical room. And with the first step, you hear a small click. You see one of the chains on this masterpiece break.
No. No, no, no.
Another step. You start to run forward, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Each step you take, you see it become a little more tarnished, a little more damaged. It would still be beautiful by any stretch of the imagination, but your perspective of it changes. It seems to wither away, the metal not decaying as it is precious, but tarnishing, becoming dull, the stones themselves clouding. By the time you reach... Sorry?
As he reaches about halfway up the bridge, he slows down to a stop and falls to his knees. Why is my life's work being destroyed in front of me?
Give me an insight check.
17.
You're, for just a split second, as you're being forced to back into your memory, you find something repressed. Something that you tried to lock away because it brought you so much pain. And that was in the moments after failing. In your math, having done so much work, having made something so, and to have it treated as common trinket. You were younger. You didn't know to control your rage or to stop yourself. And you're remembering now, as every step you're taking here is reminding you of another blow you struck against your own masterpiece.
With that memory unlocked, he'll get up and walk towards it, now remembering each hit, flinching with each step, as he remembers the pain he unleashed upon the one thing he felt proud of.
By the time you reach the top, you have witnessed its entire journey from the glorious, perfect vision of it you had in your mind to its physical recreation as close as you could manage, and just to become withered and destroyed by your own hands. You look down at the platform set with a small pedestal in the center of this room. The sphere around you seems to close inwards. You're left only to gaze down at this destroyed masterpiece.
Da Vinci is going to scoop it up into his hands.
It's there. You can touch it.
Fall to his knees. And start openly weeping. I'm so sorry. The one thing I was able to do right and I did wrong by it. I didn't know better. I didn't know.
Pain. Loss. Perspective.
You don't see anything around you, but you feel something place a hand on your shoulder.
Da Vinci just continues to cry over this broken piece of him.
It's at that point as you're in a memory again. You, as you were so many years ago, clutching the same destroyed masterpiece. At this point, you're not even in your family. You don't know where you ended up. Just in a back alley somewhere. You don't know what to do with yourself at this point. You just want to do something other than look down at this destroyed mess you've left on the ground. The same craftsman who watched over you create this thing steps forward, goes down onto one knee, just says, "Losing can be hard, I know. But inspiration comes again, lad. Maybe this will help." And he extends out to you a ticket.
He, as his younger self, just shakenly reach out and grab the ticket. I did my best. I did my best.
Your perspective breaks a bit, and from your spectral form, your younger self was just looking down still at this destroyed masterpiece. You can only see the man's boots and his gloved hand that had held the ticket out to you. But you can see from your spectral form, for the split second you enter it, this man, tears running down his face as he's realized the gravity of what he's let happen. But it doesn't shake his voice. I know. It hurts. The world might be against you on that one, lad. It was beautiful.
You knew what happened. You knew why the world was against me. Continue.
You just watch as your perspective of him shifts back towards your younger self, but by the time you've looked up, his glove disappeared from your sight, and he's not crying by the time you look up at him finally. He himself now scoops up the destroyed masterpiece. Don't forget it. But I think you'll like that show. I think it may help you. And he just sort of watches as your younger self, without really anything else to do, to mind, this sort of emptiness of this sort of overwhelming pain had overtaken you, this numbness. You just walk away from him. And you watch as behind him, or as behind yourself rather, you watch as he looks down at this destroyed thing in his hands. His hands just slowly clench. He reaches down to his side, off of his side, and throws it to the ground. And from another pouch on his side, he places the broken pieces into them. You distinctly remember, now that you're thinking about it, because it's hard not to think about it, that craftsman died mysteriously not long after the festival. Apparently some form of accident.
He kept it. He kept it, and he kept it, and it costed him his life. That bitch. That bitch was behind it all.
The memory around you suddenly shudders again. You're in a very different place. An ornate theater. Not a big venue. At most seats 20-25 people. It's a very personal show. You, your younger self, are still numb, but you are still in your own perspective. It doesn't seem like the memory is willing to wait for you. It is merely playing out as it happens.
I remember this place. This was where the ticket gate led. This is where I first saw Marion.
It's almost as if on cue as you remember that one of the most beautiful tiefling women you've ever seen, still ever seen, few match her beauty to be honest, steps out onto the stage and proceeds to perform a dance which causes sparks to shower from her body. These pyre lights of fairy fire that just dance around the room as she does. It is, in a word, breathtaking. And it slowly begins to lull you out of your numbness. And you remember the feeling returning to you.
And her dance brought me a new light. Even after all this time, seeing her perform like this still brings a tear to my eye. She's always been so stunning. Dravinci would just look over to the young him.
And you can see that light returning to your eye.
A boy whose life was once shattered not long ago, suddenly having a new hope. Well, at least this gave you something.
It's as you say that the memory cuts out. And you're standing outside the mountain.
Does he still have the piece?
No. But instead, what is in your hands is a small letter. a wax-sealed envelope bearing the insignia of the Guildhall. Though, notably, the corners of the envelope are stained with dried brown blood. A letter that
Question
was
is-
never... Sorry.
The question is: Da Vinci standing on the sand outside the mountain?
You're standing
the
on the
opening.
sort of glass slope that leads up to the mountain, almost as if
Okay.
you never stepped into the precipice of the mountain itself.
Okay.
You're basically
Good.
standing as if you were about to step past its entry.
Continue with the description of the letter.
It is... and it's not your memory of this that suddenly drums back to you, but a memory being gifted to you. A letter written with the intent of restoring a bit of honor where honor was lost. But it was never given a chance to be sent.
Da Vinci's going to kind of just completely collapse to the ground, laying on his side. And from being on his side, he's going to open the letter.
You notice as you break the seal, there's a bit of a rattle to it. As the letter opens as you lay on your side, small...
That was Andy.
Okay. I was making sure it wasn't me. Small pieces of broken jewelry tinkle out of it. Very familiar pieces of jewelry, but now further tarnished with bloodstains. Unfortunately, the letter itself contained within is ruined near to the point of being illegible. But you do see at least the entry passage. Dear Dravinche Lavastron. Sorry, your last name is so hard for me to pronounce.
Lastavron.
Lastavron. Dear Dravinche Lastavron. It has come to my attention that you have begun the of the dance. And, truthfully speaking, I find that a bit strange, but if it inspires you, I'm glad that that ticket gave you a bit of the right push. Contained within is something you lost. A lost spark. But I hope that it can bring some beauty back into your life, if you choose to let it. I hope, and that's where the passage is suddenly cut off as the blood soaked the bottom of the page.
Da Vinci, now tears streaming down the side of his face, holds the pieces of one of his greatest creations in his hand. And he clutches them and curls into a fetal position, crying around them.
And that's where we're going to end for tonight.
All right.
Kind of figured we'd only get through Da Vinci's because his was pretty extensive. And also because technical difficulties cut us off a little bit.
I'm sorry.
It's not your fault.
I can still be upset that my computer decided to fart out on me.
That's completely
no-
fair.
This is no offense to Armored, but we know that he usually likes to go into very much detail on things, so we already knew that Armored was probably going to take the longest.
It's a bit of reason why I was glad his was the first, in all honesty.
Then you just get through the rest of us, and you could probably just do 2 of us a session.
That's probably how it's gonna work.
Yeah, sorry guys. Just this was a key point of Da Vinci.
This currently is his key point. We're in the desert for him.
I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard Da Vinci get that angry.
No, he hasn't. Not this deep-seated, anyway.
I mean, we've certainly heard him get upset. But damn.
Yeah.
So,
But I take this as it is now my time to do my thing.
Yes, but I am going to go ahead and say tonight's session title.
oh, okay, I will write it down then.
Mountain of Reflection. Broken Wings.
What next session will be, depending on
Can
who
you
goes
type
up.
that out? Can you type that out in the game chat for me, please, so I can
Of
spell it
course.
correctly?
I'll do my thing because I'm very excited.
Yeah, go ahead and do your thing.
You saw me briefly play Keta the Switch's Bar tonight, and hopefully next weekend, next Thursday, you might see her cry again. For now.
Yay, Ash is a DM. Prepare to cry edition.
Just hope and pray it won't be sad because she's already had enough of existential crisis at this point. She might as well just go back home.
I'm sorry in advance.
Listen, if it ever gets to the point, Ketcha just throws her hands up like, "No, I'm done."
I've experienced too much trauma.
I've experienced too much trauma. This is too much for little baby me. My mom was right. My dad was right. Everyone was right. Sunday, you can find me playing Ever, the Azamar sorcerer. As they met last Sunday. She has some fun things up her sleeve, and currently we're trying to find a murder dog that's kidnapping children.
Yay!
Yeah, it can climb up walls.
Oh, wow.
Most dogs can.
Yeah. No, this one has hands
Oh.
and a face. The worst part is that my sorcerer has had dreams that this thing is going to try to take her.
Oh, yay,
So-
fun.
Gonna touch you with a strong hand.
Ah!
But you can find that there that on twitch.tv/Librarian Citizen at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also find him streaming himself. Well, not streaming himself, but he streams mostly, I believe, World of Warcraft. It is very fun to watch him stream World of Warcraft. I know he does do a few other ones, but yeah, it's very fun. Also, I have to pull up another stream that I was asked to at least give a little bit of shilling for. Sorry, I was not.
It's okay, take your time.
Oh, God damn it. Give me a sec. I am very sorry, y'all. I know that I'm the only one that, technically chills, but I still feel bad for taking that time.
No worries.
This thing is going to go through correctly. Because I had to copy it from my actual Twitch over. Alright. Sorry. Sorry, guys. And you can find my friend Tim. He streams Dead by Daylight mostly. He's hoping to get back into it. There's been a little bit of a rough spot with everything going on in the world. But you can find him at It's Me Timothy. He is absolutely fucking hilarious to listen to. And if you stick around to save up some game points, you can have highlights of him making the sounds of the killer and literally the entire game for a match, or you can just pick whatever killer he plays. It's a lot of fun. It's me.
Yeah. Okay, and I think I already know the answer to this, but Armored, Failsy, Myth, do you guys have anything to shill?
Nope.
Nope.
No shielding at the moment.
Myth, do you have anything?
Nope.
If you're talking.
Okay, and I think I know the answer to this one, but Ash, do you have anything to shill this week?
I make people sad.
Okay, aside from the obvious.
Eh.
That's a no. Alright, so computer issues aside from tonight, I hope everybody who either watched the stream or who will watch the VOD later enjoyed.
Obviously, it's going to be in 2 parts.
Yeah, it will be in 2 parts, so I'll just remember that when I go to do the VOD upload tomorrow night.
Or 3. Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, this one is in 2 parts. My bad.
Yeah,
Misinterpreted.
it's all good. Which I assume, based off that, the next few sessions that we do here are just going to be Mountain of Reflection and then a subtitle from there.
Yep.
Gotcha. Awesome. So.
I have so many things planned for all of you.
Yay! No.
We have an idea of what you've gotten for me.
Knowing how creative you can be with the just 2 vague things I gave you, my character gonna cry.
Everyone's gonna cry.
I have plans!
Except for Failsy, because Failsy's a snake.
Snakes can
Either
cry.
or it's just gonna be pure PTSD trauma for Failsy. She's just gonna come out shell-shocked.
That moment when Failsy might be the only one who chose a happy memory.
Oh, fair enough.
Hey, I chose happy memories.
True, but not with the option you...
Oof.
Anyway.
I made them all on fate.
Anyhow. With that, if anybody who is watching now or VOD later enjoyed this, you can find us again on this same Twitch channel, which is, I think it's Danny Boop at twitch.tv. You can find us here again next week at or around 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will continue on with the Mountain of Reflection and see who goes next.
Yeah.
So, I think with that, everybody should say their good nights.
Good night.
Good night.
Spoil.
What?
Okay, you like legit roboted.
Too bad. Sucks for us.
Good night.
Alright, good night everybody. We'll see y'all next week.